Hi everybody, it's Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio, and today's block is called the Lattice Star block. And here is my sample. It's made with half square triangles, flying geese units, and some easy corner triangles. So it looks more complicated than what it is, but we'll go through it step by step and I'll show you how to make the Lattice Star block. Here are the pieces you're going to need to make the Lattice Star block. For A, you need 2 3-inch squares. For B, you need 8 2.5-inch squares. C is 2 5-inch squares. D is 8 2.5-inch squares. E is 2 5-inch squares. F is 8 2.5 by 4.5-inch rectangles. G is 2 3-inch squares, and H is 4 2.5-inch squares. Now you need to draw diagonal lines on quite a few of these. You'll need to do that on the B squares, the D squares, E squares, G squares, and the H squares. Now I'm going to adjust the camera and we'll get started putting this Lattice Star block together. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some diagonal lines on the back of my G squares. And I normally do this ahead of time, but I kind of got in a hurry here and forgot to draw all of my lines. So we're just going to draw one diagonal line from corner to corner on the back of these G squares. And these are going to be paired up with the A squares to make half square triangles. So that's our first step. So I'm going to put the A and the G squares right sides together, and I'm going to sew 1/4 inch away from that drawn line on both sides. And this will make half square triangles. And what these are for is to make the pinwheel that's in the center of the block. Okay, and I'm going to cut them apart on that drawn line, and I'll have a total of 4 half square triangles. And like I said, this is for the pinwheel center of the block. And here are the half square triangles. Now I'm going to trim and press these. These need to be 2.5 inches square, and using 3-inch squares, they most of the time are just a tiny bit larger than 2.5. So I always double check that. So I am going to go ahead and trim these, and then I'm going to press them. And I am using a clearly perfect slotted trimmer to do my trimming. And then we'll put these together to make the pinwheel. Okay, now I'm going to lay these pieces out to form my pinwheel. Okay, so I got all my pieces laid out for the pinwheel, and then I'm going to sew those two together, these two together, and then sew those two sections together, and then I'll have my pinwheel block. And I'm going to nest my diagonal seam. To one side, and then I'll sew the two sections together. Okay, there's my pinwheel block, and I pressed that last seam open to help it lay flatter. Okay, now we need to make corner units, and we're going to start out by making 4 half square triangles using the C and the E squares, which are your large 5-inch squares, and I need to draw a diagonal line on the wrong side of the E squares. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so there's a half square triangle. I want these to measure 4.5 inches square. So I'm going to trim and press these, and then we'll add the H square. Okay, now I need to take the H squares, and I'm going to place that in the corner of the green side of these squares here, these half square triangles. And I'm going to sew on that drawn line. And I'll show you with one, and then I'm going to chain piece the others. Okay, so let's cut a 1/4 inch away from that seam. And then I'm going to press this open, and this is what we'll have. Okay, so we have this. I need to make 4 of these, so I'm going to do that to all the other ones. Okay, so I have all 4 of these done. Now I need to make some flying geese units. So we need the B squares and the F rectangles. And we're going to make 4 flying geese. We have 8 of these F rectangles. We just need 4 of them. And then we have 8 B squares. So we're going to sew one side at a time, and I'm going to chain piece these all together. And I haven't drawn diagonal lines on these, but I'm going to do that now and sew on that drawn line. Okay, I'll trim a 1/4 inch away from that outside corner and press. Okay, so there's the half flying geese, and this line is going to go from the center to the bottom left hand corner, and sew on that drawn line. And trim off this outer corner and press. Okay, so here is this flying geese unit. Need to make 4 of these. Need to make 4 units, so we will I'll finish those, and then we will work on our rectangle units, our diagonal rectangle units. Okay, I have all 4 flying geese done, And now we need to move on to the diagonal rectangle units, which are the other 4 F squares and the D squares. So we need to draw a diagonal line on the wrong side of these D squares. To make these diagonal rectangle units, you're going to start with your F rectangle and your D squares, and I've already started these, forgot to turn the camera back on. You're going to lay your diagonal line going from the top center to the bottom left hand corner and sew on that drawn line. And I've done that with all 4, and now I'm trimming off this outer corner. So it's kind of like the flying geese unit, except, let me press this one back. Okay, so we have here. Now the next square, instead of it going from the top center to the bottom right, I want it to go from the top right corner down to the bottom center. So I'm going to sew this way on this. Okay, just trim this outer corner. And this is what we have. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. I'm going to press this triangle back. Okay, we need to make 4 of these, all exactly the same. So I'm going to press the rest of these and then sew on the other square. Okay, so I have all 4 of those done. Now I need to sew these to the flying geese units. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to sew them to the goose part, the large part, which is the background. And we're going to sew them like this. Okay, let me show you what this looks like. Kind of looks like a check mark if you look at the white. So this is what we're looking for, and I'm going to press this towards the flying geese unit. That seems to be where it wants to go. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. Okay, got all those done. Well, let's lay out the block. Okay, so we have all of our pieces. We have our pinwheel in the center, we have our corner units, and we have our center side units. So we can start however we want. So let's do the outer corners, and we're going to put the small background is going to go towards the center of the block. And I'm going to do a flying geese unit, and then another corner unit. Then we'll do a flying geese unit, a pinwheel, and another flying geese unit, and corner unit, flying geese unit, and a corner unit. So here we go. So there we go, we got the ribbon going around the star. So I'm going to sew them into rows and then sew the rows together. Okay, I'm going to start with row 1. I don't have any seams to match here. I'm just going to make sure my edges are even. And I'm just going to complete this one row at a time. Which I don't usually do, but I do it on occasion, so. I want to show you something here. I repressed the seams on the corner units. This one was pressed towards the green, this one was pressed towards the background, and I flipped them so that these diagonals would meet up and the block would go together easier in this row. So you might want to just check those when you sew your block together and see if you need to or even want to do that. It's not necessary. So here is the completed lattice star block. So that turned out really well. It looks a lot more complicated than what it is. We're just doing half square triangles, the flying geese units, and then easy corner triangles. So that's all there is to this block. Just take your time with it, and I think you can do a good job with it. So I hope you'll give this block a try. Okay, that is it for the lattice star block. I hope you enjoyed this one. I think it's an interesting block, and in the pattern on the last page I give you a diagram of what this block would look like in a quilt with just these blocks, you know, a whole set of these blocks. So it makes an interesting design. So I hope you'll give this block a try. Now, if you like this video, please click the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and click that notification bell so you'll be notified when the next video comes up. And in the meantime, I hope you are all staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links. And to keep up with my latest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.